This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. The holidays are over, the decorations are down, and suddenly everything feels a little empty. It's normal to feel the winter blues after the holiday excitement. January, February, and March are by far my least favorite months of the year. It's cold and dark, and I have to get some extra vitamin D on board. I also need to keep my regular scheduled appointments with my therapist. So if you're feeling that post-holiday funk, I definitely suggest you checking out BetterHelp because maybe it's time to talk. You might also be one of those people like me who makes New Year's resolutions and you get super motivated. So maybe you need someone behind you to hold you accountable and come up with a plan to meet your goals. BetterHelp is super convenient, totally online. You have a therapist right at your fingertips whenever you need them. So head over to betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/wifeofcrime1 for 10% off your first month.
This podcast is an unscripted, unedited conversation about true crime. We take the cases very seriously, but I don't take myself seriously at all, and neither should you. Welcome to Wife of Crime.
So Russ, have you ever heard a story that just totally gets under your skin? Well, the case I'm telling you today, it really messed me up. In this story, we have so many people who have horrible lives and one man who exploits all of them. This is the case of John Bunting and the Snowtown Murders. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wife of Crime, a true crime podcast where I tell my husband Russ all my favorite true crime stories, and he reacts to them.
Yep.
Last week, you hated on the intro, and then when I posted that people can write an intro, they said they like the way it is.
Yeah, I guess it describes it. I also was listening to, I'm changing the subject, but I was listening to an earlier podcast of ours, the one with the Ed Gein when he did like the nipple belt and
Mm-hmm.
the meat curtains and stuff.
Gotcha nose.
Saying meat curtains is gross.
Ew.
But I was listening where like I opened a beer and you'd be like, you whispered like, they're going to be able to hear that. And now like, and that was like what, our second or third episode or something.
Yeah.
And now like you've come around and I get to open a beer because other people are like, I don't care that he opens beers. I don't know why that was my listener voices of like how you guys sound, but that was it.
I mean, in the beginning, I was worried about everything. I wanted it to be perfect, but then I realized that it'll never be perfect. It's just going to be us, and people will find us and love it, and they have.
I think in the beginning, you wanted everyone to like it, and in the beginning, I was like, if they don't like us, I don't care. There's an ass for every seat. Find another seat.
Yeah, you're right.
So cheers to you guys that stuck around. I opened my beer already, but cheers.
So this month on our Patreon monthly True Crime and Chill episode, we were going to do Murder Among the Mormons because it's really popular on Netflix. But then when we started watching it, Russ was super bored.
Jesus Christ, that was boring. How could anyone watch that?
So we decided to change it up and we did a poll on our Patreon. So we are actually going to do the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix. So that'll be really cool. That'll be coming out in the next couple weeks on Patreon.
Yeah, but I'm not the only one because what's that girl's name? Avani. I might be saying it wrong, but she even was like, I was getting bored.
Yeah.
Like she said on Patreon. So at least I'm not the only one.
That's true. Yeah.
Like they were talking about paintings, and then it was a guy with like a high-pitched voice or something. It was mad weird. I was like, what am I doing? And then I fell asleep watching that. Who knows what I dreamt about? But now that I'm old, I can't remember dreams.
Really?
Not really. Very, very vaguely. And sometimes I'll remember them. Like I have to think about it when I first wake up. Mm. But then within like 5 minutes, I forget. I'm like, I'm going to remember that one.
Huh. I remember most of my dreams. My dreams are usually pretty vivid, especially when I take melatonin. For some reason, my dreams get really vivid after I take melatonin before I go to bed. That's interesting that you never remember them. Well, anyway, so on Patreon, True Crime and Chill.
What is True Crime and Chill, Jess, for the new folks?
True Crime and Chill is where we watch a documentary and then talk about it. It's very casual, and we have a lot of fun.
It's a little different from this because in the True Crime and Chill episodes, I know the story as well. Mm-hmm. Here, I don't know the story, so it's a little different.
So that's going to be for August. And then we have gotten 2 listener stories. Both of them are crazy. I'm waiting for like 2 to 3 more before we make an episode. So if you have any stories you want to share with us that you want me to tell Russ on the podcast and him react to it, write us at wifeofcrimepod@gmail.com. Tell us your story and we can make a special listener episode. Stories we've gotten so far have been crazy. I'm like, what are you guys going through? Jeez.
I know, and you won't tell me, even though I wanted to know, because you're like, that's so crazy. I was like, just tell me.
No, I can't tell you till we record it.
So I have a listener review of the week.
Ooh.
That's back-to-back weeks. You know, I'm like Drake, back-to-back. I picked a short one because I didn't want to read that much today. Oh, that was...
Okay.
And so this one is from Becker. New listener, 5 stars. Just started listening, so obviously I'm binging. I love their opinions, takes on the cases. Somehow my favorite part is when Russ roasts the weird reviews. So yeah. We haven't really got any roasting me and being weird lately.
We haven't, no.
There was a review of the week I was gonna talk about that like talks about beer pong, which was kind of funny. They like call me out on some things. Mm-hmm. But it was really long. And I don't really like reading out loud, so I might do it next week. I wasn't in the mood.
Okay.
But how, like, you're supposed to use water cups for your, like, that you throw the ball in and drink out of your beer cup. But around here in the Bronx, they don't do that. They throw the ball in the beer cup, and that shit is disgusting, and I'm not playing beer pong. Plus, I'm old now. The only thing I do that I'm not supposed to do at this age is wear my hat backwards.
Yeah, it's really gross. They throw the ball into the beer cup and then drink it.
But
it's disgusting. This was pre-COVID, though, so maybe things have changed.
Yeah, that was Nandi. But shout out to you, Nandi, because you listen and you like us. Oh, yeah, and she called Nandi. I think that's a girl's name. If not, sorry. Or dude. I said that I haven't made a mistake in many years, but I did make a mistake about the Pat Tillman case, about the dude who was the NFL player and went to the military. Mm-hmm. And I called him Ronnie. Mm-hmm. But I called him Ronnie because I knew a Ronnie Tillman growing up. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. Well, Nandi's a Patreon, so.
So I made a mistake.
All right, so go ahead and shout out our new patrons for this week.
Oh, so here we go. Shout out to the patrons. This week we have Nelia, Matt, Paige, and Nandi. Oh, Nandi did a review and joined the Patreon.
That's what I just said.
I wasn't listening. Shout out to you. I'll open fresh beer. Well, shout out to all 4 of you. Cheers.
Woo, cheers. All right. Now, when it comes to our listener base, we have 2 countries that by far have the most listeners. The first one's obviously America, because that's where we're from. America. Yeah. Do you have any idea what the second most popular country is where our listeners come from?
It's out of 2.
Okay.
It's either from Canada or Australia.
It's Australia.
Or we had the UK for a while popping.
We did, but now Australia has gone to second place.
Shout out to Australia. A dingo ate my baby.
One of our listeners, her name is Melanie, a.k.a. Miss Mutu on Instagram.
She makes fun of me too much.
And she is an OG fan, Russ. She's been around for a long time. She asked me to cover a case a long time ago, and I didn't do it. It's been on my list. But finally, this week, we're going to do it.
Don't mess with her. She's a bodybuilder.
She is, yes.
Oh, and I love her dogs. The Goofy Lab.
She does have cute dogs.
It's funny as hell. I saw him on Instagram yesterday playing with his toy upside down. He's crazy.
He's really cute. So this is the case of the worst serial killers in Australian history. The case of the Snowtown Murders. The story is fascinating and super dark because every character I'm going to tell you about has a very messed up past. It's always crazy to me how like a group of misfits will find one another and how they can decide as a group to commit despicable, disgusting acts.
You know what that reminds me of? Like the kids in high school that always ended up together that were wearing Jinko jeans.
I mean, I
like,
guess.
How do you weirdos all end up together with your parachute jeans?
Yeah, but it's like people hang out with people who are like them.
Exactly. So if you wear Jinko jeans, you probably were about 47% more likely to be a serial killer than people that wore regular pants.
Whatever.
Just wore Jinko jeans.
I
obviously.
did.
Knew it. That's why you were defending it.
So anyway, it always is weird to me, though, how a group of people can come together and they can commit disgusting crimes with one another. It's like really weird to me.
Birds of a feather flock together.
True. The man at the center of this case is named John Bunting, and he reminds me a lot of Charles Manson. He found and surrounded himself with people that fed into his charisma and people he could easily manipulate. He used their own horrible pasts and personal traumas to trigger them, and it ended up leading to 12 murders and one of the most disturbing crimes in Australian history. Buckle up, because this one is rough. Seriously.
You said buckle up.
I did. In 2011, a movie came out about this case. It's called The Snowtown Murders, and I watched it yesterday.
Is it good?
It is really disturbing. You know what it is? When you're reading or watching documentaries about horrible crimes, it's one thing. But then when you watch like a drama where you watch it like played out and you can see how the things actually happened and you see it like in that fashion, it like kind of brings it to life. And it really messed with my head. Like, I think I have anxiety today because of that movie I watched yesterday.
Yeah. Sometimes I find myself like joking around and stuff. Sometimes I do kind of forget that it's real people.
Well, this movie really messed me up for like an entire day because it's really like I said, one thing to watch a documentary and it's a whole nother thing to like watch a drama of it played out.
Wait, is it like a documentary, but like America's Most Wanted where they play it out and narrate over it? It's a movie.
No, it's a movie. Is
it good? No, I mean like a good movie, like you'd watch if it's a good movie, or is it like low budget crap?
It's a well done movie, but it's disturbing as fuck.
Maybe we could do a true crime and chill on that one.
I thought about it, but to be honest, I really don't want to watch it again, honestly.
You're making this shit sound like The Exorcist.
No, it was just really, it's just, you'll see. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So our case takes place in a city in South Australia called Adelaide. In the suburbs surrounding the city, there are good parts and bad parts, just like any other city. One area, known as Salisbury North, had a high rate of unemployment, which, like anywhere, high unemployment rates tend to breed crime. As the saying goes, idle hands are the devil's playground. This is where a guy named John Bunting would step into some people's lives and change them forever.
I think the way you get people to do things you don't want to do, that they wouldn't normally do, is find low self-esteem people.
Well, as you will see throughout the story, John knew who to pick to manipulate. So John Bunting was a young, charismatic, self-proclaimed neo-Nazi and pedophile hunter from Queensland. He came from a good home with loving parents.
I'm down with killing pedophiles, though. That's okay.
Well, just listen.
Not neo-Nazi stuff. That's cornball. Like, they shout out to you and your tiki torch, loser.
Well, he came from a good home with loving parents. They really tried to raise their son right. When John was a small child, he got really sick with some, I don't know exactly what illness it was, but it caused him to permanently lose his sense of smell, which later on in our story will end up being a good thing for him. But it's kind of crazy. Can you imagine living life with no sense of smell?
It'd be good because you fart a lot.
Oh, shut up.
You and Biggie in the bed together, it'd probably be a little easier.
Whatever.
So do you guys know that Biggie is our bulldog? If you don't know, some people might be here for the first time. And when we first went to look at Biggie, we were thinking about getting a dog. The first thing Jess said when she looked at him with his cute little smushed in face, like he was like 4 weeks old, the grass,
Not true.
the leg of the grass was as tall as like his leg. He was so, we'll post a picture. Or go check out Catch It Biggie on Instagram. That's my friend. And the first thing she said when she looked at him and told the guy, this is true. She's saying it's not. She's embarrassed.
Not true.
She said, oh, I could blame my farts on him.
This is not true.
What?
It wasn't the first thing I said.
Was it the second? It was within the first minute of meeting him, if you want to paraphrase. Or I don't know why I said paraphrase. It sounds like a good word. But no, you said that it was one of the very first things probably besides aw. After aw, so I could blame my farts on him.
Whatever.
And now she farts. And well, Biggie might blame his farts on her. She farts the same.
Whatever. So needless to say, you would like to not have a sense of smell.
Can't be lied. On the podcast to the crime family.
So anyway, John got really sick and he permanently lost his sense of smell. So there were a few red flags when it came. There were a few red flags when it came to John that made him a really weird kid. And we would later see that it kind of played a role in the actions he had as an adult. First, when he was in elementary school, he would experiment on bugs. He would mix different acids, and then he would pick a bug up with some tweezers and dip it into the acid just to see what happened to the bug. Which, that's a little, like, it's one thing to just kill a bug because it's bothering you, but to take it and dip it into acid to see what happens, that's a little nutty for a little kid.
Yeah.
Another thing that he would do is he would dig really deep holes in his backyard and like tunnels all through his backyard, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just a weird hobby, in my opinion.
Tunnels that he can like crawl through?
Yeah, like long tunnels.
Like El Chapo. When
all
he escaped.
under his house, and really deep holes, like 7, 8, 10-foot deep holes in his backyard as a kid.
He must have not had a dad there with him, because dads are obsessed with their lawn and would not have that. He came out with their New Balance tied too tight, with the shirt tucked in, and the pants right below the belly button tight. And he would have been like, get off my lawn.
No, I told you, he had two really loving parents. He had a mom and a dad who loved him very much and tried to give him a good life.
His dad was willing to sacrifice his lawn.
I guess so. So it wasn't until John became a teenager that things took a darker turn. John became obsessed with World War II, which led him to idealizing Hitler and the Nazis. From this obsession, he adopted fascist neo-Nazi ideals. And at 20 years old, he even got a job in a crematorium.
This week's episode is sponsored by BarkBox. I got good news. So BarkBox is a monthly subscription for your dog where they send them treats and toys. And I hit them up and I said, yo, my listeners like free stuff, so what's up? And they said, oh, good news, Russ. We love your show. So we'll give you and your listeners 1 month free if you sign up for our subscription service. And I said, cool. I said, how do they take care of that? And they said, oh, so just go to barkbox.com/wifeofcrime, or they can click the link in the show notes. And this way we know they're your homies and we'll give them a free month. Oh yeah, they do themed ones, and you could do ones for big dogs, those super chewers, or you could even get them for those little poodles with the pink hair that you keep in your purse. So don't forget, go to barkbox.com/wifeofcrime to let them know I sent you and get your free month.
When John was 23, he moved to the suburbs of Adelaide and married a woman named Veronica. But John and Veronica had a horrible relationship, and John actually treated her like garbage. He was abusive, physically and verbally, and it was a very tumultuous relationship. In late 1991, John met a local kid named Robert Wagner. And this is like, when I when I, think about this relationship between John and Robert, Robert ended up becoming like John's right-hand man. And I don't know, the relationship is very toxic and weird. Like every person...
How is it weird?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh.
Like every person we will meet in the story, Robert Wagner had a horrible life. Robert was molested by a male family member when he was a young boy. When he was 13 years old, he met a 30-year-old man named Barry Lane. Barry was a pedophile who began grooming Robert, and within a year, he convinced Robert to run away with him. So Robert's only 14, and this 30-year-old man convinced him to run away with him.
Fuck that dude.
And he did. He left, and for 4 years, they were traveling all over Australia. And then when he was 18 years old, Robert and Barry moved back.
That's like my mom. She ran away when she was like 15 and came back when she was 18, pregnant with me.
Exactly. But, he's a young kid who this man has now manipulated into being in this really sick relationship.
Yeah, I feel like, you got to try to, if you have kids, it seems like you have to try to make sure they have high self-esteem, because you have low self-esteem, you're easily manipulated by people that make you feel like you have some worth.
That's true, but also you have to remember, like I said, Robert was molested by a man as a young child, so
he was kind of groomed already.
Yeah, I mean, his trauma ran deep.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable to talk about. But, like I always say, man, I think, like, the success story would be so much greater than succumbing to your past that led you down this way, because there's plenty of people that have had traumatic experiences, and now they have a great success story, how they rose out of that bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't have to let that become you. You can use it as motivation. Like, I'm better than this situation.
I know. So John Bunting and Robert Wagner became close friends, and John revealed to Robert that he too was molested by a man when he was young.
Definitely. That's that saying, hurt people hurt people.
So John became obsessed with the idea of ridding society of child molesters. A noble idea.
I'm in. That's some Dexter shit. New season of Dexter's coming, by the way. Super hype. But kill them all. If you kill... I feel like if there was a way to know who, like, was a child molester, and there is, that's that registry, but there's people on that registry for weird stuff. I heard there's people in that for, like, peeing in a school zone. Like, you had to pee and...
Yeah.
So there's probably some gray area in there.
Yeah.
But if you kill a child molester, kudos to you.
Well, the problem with John is John didn't differentiate between being gay and being a pedophile. And so that's where the lines got blurred with him.
What year did this take place?
Right now we're in 1991.
Oh, it's not even that long ago.
Mm-mm.
Well, yes, it is, because I'm old. It doesn't seem like it was long ago, because I was having a good time in 91. Well, yeah. I was only 10, but...
So John would hang out with Robert and Barry, and although he hated Barry, he used him to get information on the other pedophiles and gay men in the area. John would frequently host dinners at his house and invite all his neighbors over. And he was kind of doing it to, like, hype everybody up. It would be like a neighborhood meeting almost, where he would say, the police are doing nothing about these pedophiles. It has to be put in our hands now. We have to be the ones that fix this.
Oh, he sounds like the freaking first QAnon over there.
So John created what he called the Wall of Rock Spiders. It was a wall with pictures of child molesters and gay men, and they were all the people he was planning to target. In 1994, John began having an affair with a woman named Elizabeth Harvey. John moved into her house and became like a father figure to her sons. One of the boys was named James Velasquez, and he was only 14 years old at the time. James looked up to John because he saw him as like the strong, assertive guy, which was the total opposite of himself. James was also a victim of sexual abuse.
Damn, man, a lot of people go through that.
He was molested by a babysitter and also his older brother, Troy.
Wow.
James was timid and quiet, and he was just like truly traumatized by his past. And this movie, when I watched it, the kid who played James, like you can see he's just a quiet kid. who is just traumatized and just walking around broken, pretty much. So John said to him, "You're weak, but I'm going to make you strong. I'm going to teach you how to be a strong man." So John began grooming James in a different way, trying to make him an accomplice for his crimes he was planning to commit.
Do you think he thought these were crimes, or he didn't think they were crimes? Like, they may be crimes in society's eyes because you're not allowed to kill or do something to people, but he thought they were noble acts, so he didn't think he was doing anything bad?
As we get further in the story, it starts out that way. But then as we get further in the story, you start to see a shift happen. So.
Maybe he likes killing. Seems like sometimes when people start killing, they like killing. Like, maybe it's like a power thing.
Definitely a power thing. You guys already know because we have been talking about them for a while now. Via Hemp is by far one of our favorite sponsors we've ever had, okay? We use their products all the time. Maybe you're a little like me. You're a little anxious. You have a hard time settling down. You're kind of wound up a lot. If that's you, Via Hemp products are for you. Check out their website. You will find something that speaks to you. Maybe you're like Russ. You have a hard time sleeping because you have bad nerve pain or chronic pain. Then Via Hemp is for you because their gummies will help you get some quality sleep. Maybe you're looking to have a really good time. Maybe you just really like edibles. You want to laugh. You want to get the munchies. You want to watch a movie and have a really strong belly laugh. Then Via Hemp products are for you, okay? They're literally for everybody. So head over to viahemp.com, promo code wifeofcrime1 to get 15% off your first order. That's VIIAHEMP.com. Wife of Crime #1 for 15% off your first order. Last year, Save More Money was the most popular New Year's resolution in America. Clearly, a lot of us feel like our money is slipping through our fingers. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not the best saver, and I don't know much about investing until I started saving and investing with Acorns. Turns out you don't have to be an expert at all because Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that fits you and your money goals. And I always thought that when people say, "Ooh, I invest in stocks," that they had a ton of money or something. Well, you don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you invest with the spare money you've got right now. You can literally start with $5. And you know you guys are spending that at Starbucks on these fancy lattes. So skip the coffee and invest with Acorns. You don't even need a ton of time. Like, you can just sign up and start investing within 5 minutes. Head over to acorns.com/wifeofcrime or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/wifeofcrime. So, like I said, John began grooming James in a different way, trying to make him an accomplice for the crimes he was planning to commit. So John forced James to shoot his dog. He told him if he wanted to be strong, he needed to learn how to kill. So he did. He shot his dog. And the whole time that, he did it, he was very reluctant and sad. He was
Wait,
crying.
told the little boy to shoot his dog?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck this guy. It's over. I hope he gets what's coming to him.
Well, James shot his dog, and it was the first time he ever fired a weapon, and it was the first time he ever killed something. So by 1995, John had formed a small group of loyal followers. Robert Wagner, James Vlachis, and a guy named Mark Hayden. Mark was the only one in the group who had not been sexually assaulted in the past. He was a quiet, simple guy who just went along with whatever John said for unknown reasons. These three men idolized John and did whatever they asked of him. Robert was John's right-hand man, and he and John were the closest. So John had a neighbor named Susan Allen, and she had this young, developmentally disabled man named Ray Davies living on her property.
When you say young, developmentally, you know what I mean, disabled, I mean that he's young or young in the head?
No, he's a young guy, like in his early 20s, but he's developmentally disabled.
Okay. Sometimes when people say young, I think like it's an old dude, but they act young.
No.
Kind of like me.
Well, he acts young because he is disabled, but he's in his 20s. He's able to live on his own. He lives in a trailer in the backyard of Susan's house.
That sounds like the best to me. Less mortgage, less rent,
Well,
living free.
I mean, I don't know. She might have charged him rent. I don't know.
Yeah, but it ain't as much as probably a regular house. Anyone want to rent me a trailer in the backyard? I'll give up this mortgage and do podcasts in the trailer, boy.
Well, Susan came to John one day and said that her nephew, who's 7 years old, claimed that Ray touched him inappropriately.
I wonder how adamant he was about it. Like, or did he know that these dudes were pedophile hunting?
Susan did. Susan knew this.
Oh, so then the kid knew too, because kids hear everything. Sometimes people think kids are dumb, but they ain't that dumb. But they're a little dumb. But they hear stuff and they know what's going on.
Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know if he actually did it or not. When Susan confronted Ray, he said no, he never did that. He kept saying he didn't do it, but we don't really know for sure.
Wouldn't a pedophile say that too? So it's really hard to say.
Well, John decided that he was guilty. So John, Robert, and Elizabeth, John's girlfriend, they captured Ray. They brought him into John's bathroom and tied him in the bathtub. They tied him up. They tortured him, killed him, and dismembered him.
Damn, that reminds me of the scene from Scarface when they had the dude in the shower with the chainsaw. You never seen that?
Yeah, I've seen Scarface.
That reminds me of Scarface, and they had him in the tub.
Yeah, well, that's what John Bunting did.
Well, if he molested a little kid, then he deserved it. If not, then that's fucked up.
And they buried Ray in John's backyard.
You know, I say a lot of people deserve stuff. People probably like, that's terrible. But they might feel the same way.
I mean, I agree that people who molest children deserve the worst. I mean, they're terrible people. But like I said, in this case in particular, we'll see that lines get blurred and that not everybody that becomes a victim of John and his group were child molesters.
At this point, it seems like they may start trying to pick out easy targets just to keep their band rolling.
Exactly. So in 1997...
We should rename them Band of Douches.
So in 1997, the Band of Douches' next victim... Did you like that?
That was pretty good. Normally, you'd be like, 3 episodes in, you'd be like, don't say douche on the microphone.
Whatever. So in 1997, the group's next victim was a 19-year-old openly gay man named Michael Gardiner. Michael didn't hurt anyone. He was a sweet, innocent guy. But like I said before, John started out hating pedophiles and then blurred the line between pedophiles and gay men.
That's whack.
John and Robert kidnapped Michael, tortured, strangled him, and then dismembered his body. A few months later, in October 1997, the group's next target was Barry Lane. Remember Barry Lane? He's the one that groomed Robert Wagner and took him away for 4 years.
Oh, yeah,
He's a real pedophile.
Get him. Do him in public.
He was an evil person, and he was the man that caused so much trauma for Robert. So at this time, Barry has now moved on from Robert, and he's dating a child, essentially. This kid is like 13 years old. His name is Thomas.
Wow.
And he's developmentally disabled
wow,
as well.
That's even worse. Now you're really taking advantage of someone who, they're probably be like age-wise in their mind, probably less than the actual age that they are.
I know.
If they have like mental issues.
So Barry was tortured and murdered and dismembered, and his body parts were put in a barrel in John's shed.
Cheers to Band of Douches for this one.
However, the group also killed Thomas, the
boy?
little kid. They did it to collect his Social Security checks.
Jesus.
They hung him from a tree, and his death was ruled a suicide by police. So this is just showing you that John Bunting used this narrative of pedophile hunting to actually just kill people. And he killed people that he could collect their money.
collect their Social Security checks. John's neighbor, Susan, the one who told John about the guy living on her property, well, she was obsessed with John. She was in love with him. She would write him notes, love letters. She would always come to his house. And John found her super annoying. He hated it. She would come on to him all the time. And his response was, we got to off her too. So the band of douches killed Susan as well. And they buried her in the backyard. But they continued collecting her Social Security checks. So now it's turning into this financial gain.
So they're trying to go from the band of douches to the residual income douches.
I don't know.
Or they just get money for not working.
Yeah, they're just turning into some real terrible people.
Jeez.
So Gavin Porter was a friend of James. Gavin was not gay or a pedophile. He was a heroin addict. He didn't bother anyone. He just wanted to do his drugs. John hated him, and he hated that James was friends with him. So he decided that him and Robert were going to kill Gavin. But the craziest part is they didn't tell James that they were going to kill his friend. James came home one day and saw the body of Gavin Porter in John's shed.
Wow, we all got friends that do drugs, and I don't mind drug addicts that just fucking do their drugs. Like, I have my beers and I relax, and whatever you got to do. There's many functioning drug addicts, and I'm a big proponent of mind your own damn business. Whatever you do is your own. Just don't ask me for money, and you're still straight.
But in my opinion, John used this as a power move over James. He just wanted to get rid of this guy because this is James' friend. But the crazy part is when James got home, he was so distraught and upset that John killed his friend. But John forced him to dismember his friend's body.
Wow, James should have killed him, yo. Right there, like, I'm finishing you.
James was only like 14, 15 years old at this time.
I had that rage at 14. I would have stabbed him in his neck.
He looked at him like a father figure. It was the only father figure he ever had.
Fuck. But now he's just as guilty. He's going to jail forever. You're still doing crazy shit, too.
So by 1998, James told John that his older brother Troy had molested him for years. So John, Robert, and James tortured and killed Troy in the bathtub of John's house. And then they put his body in a barrel in a shed. Like I said earlier, John had no sense of smell. He had the barrels in the shed, and according to the other guys, the smell was rancid.
Yo, so he might have been the dude that caused COVID, because he was the first one that couldn't smell something, and now it started right there. He's the monkey.
Whatever.
From China.
So the smell was rancid, and John used to tell his neighbors that it was kangaroo parts, that he would hunt kangaroos and then cut them up and put the body parts in barrels. That's kind of like why people thought that it smelled so bad.
I wonder if people eat kangaroos like deer, because I hear that in Australia, kangaroo is so common like deer. And you ever see the diesel ones?
Yeah, I saw the diesel ones. I saw a guy like punch a kangaroo in the face because it was trying to mess with his dog.
Bro, they look like my friend Paul, who's been getting too wide lately.
They do. They do. They're and they can be really tall.
Well, I don't know how tall they are unless they're standing next to something.
Yeah.
Unless they stand next to something, I don't know. But I wonder, I bet someone eats some roux wings, like chicken roux wings. Like, we could make a thing, roux wings, instead of like chicken wings.
I don't know. I don't know if Australian people eat kangaroo. I guess here we eat deer.
Yeah, Mutu, let me know if they eat kangaroo. I'm curious. Probably like roux steaks.
I don't know.
I don't know. I cut out the whole kanga.
I don't know either. You like abbreviated it.
I abbreviate everything. Everyone has a nickname.
So in late 1998, the group killed 2 more men, a guy named Fred Brooks and a guy named Gary O'Dwyer. Both men were collecting Social Security benefits because they were mentally disabled.
Wow, they were picking on the wounded now.
So they started cashing in on their monthly checks as well. Elizabeth Hayden, who is Mark Hayden's wife, found out about 4 of the murders. So the group, including her husband Mark, killed her too. She wasn't reported missing by her husband, but by a neighbor. When police questioned him, he said they had a bad falling out and she ran off with another man.
This reminds me of like big corporations, like, but they're in a small way. Like they're just protecting their income and their assets by any means necessary. Like they'll kill you. You trying to stop our money. We're killing you.
They just killed people for fun, Russ. This is at this point now, they're just killing whoever. They're just finding weak people and killing them and torturing them because they like it.
Yeah, but they have Social Security.
Well, wait, they have financial gain.
Wait a minute. In Australia, they don't have Social Security numbers.
How do you know what they have over there?
That's a U.S. thing.
No, they still get disability. They have government.
Might not
housing,
be Social Security then.
I don't know. It's irrelevant. They
so
have their version of Social Security benefits.
So they're collecting checks.
Yes. So John started feeling the heat from police who would come by and question the men from time to time. And he decided, okay, I have all these barrels in my shed. I need to move them because police are getting suspicious. John and Mark Hayden decided to rent a building in a tiny little town about 100 miles north of Adelaide, a town called Snowtown.
This is where we get the name.
Snowtown is a small rural town with only about 500 residents. There was an old bank for rent there. John and Mark rented it for $60 a month, and they moved all the barrels into the bank's vault.
Geez, rent is cheap as hell over there.
Well, it's a tiny little town. I don't know what.
Yeah, but $60. Yeah. You could collect cans over here for 5 cents a can and get $60 a month.
Well, maybe it was just this area. I don't know. So the group's plan was to dump cement. What?
I thought when you first started it, I thought you said the way you said it, their plan was to dump semen.
Oh.
Is it cement?
No, cement.
Cement.
Cement. You don't say cement?
No, that's why I thought you say semen. It was like, where is this going?
Oh.
Cement.
Dump cement.
Cement? No, that's why I was like...
I don't know. That's how I always said it. Cement.
Well,
cement.
Cement.
Oh, cement.
Cement? No. That's why I was like, where's she going? That's a lot of semen.
Okay, let me start over. So the group's plan was to dump cement into the barrels and eventually drop all 6 of them off the side of a boat into the ocean. So they would just go down to the bottom and stay at the bottom of the ocean.
Wasn't that like Dexter? Like he used to dump them from the boat?
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot. I got to rewatch that since the new one's coming.
One night, James told his stepbrother David there was a guy selling a computer in Snowtown and asked him if he wanted to buy it. David was also innocent and had done nothing wrong to anyone, but John just didn't like him and wanted him gone. So James drove him to the bank where he claimed he could buy this computer. Once inside, they locked David in a room and tortured him. But while torturing him, the 4 men played tape recordings they had made of the other people they tortured.
Wow.
They dismembered his body and put him in one of the barrels. But Robert and John saved a piece, brought it back to John's house, cooked it, and ate it. So now this is just getting sick. Meanwhile, police are now closing in. They notice that Barry Lane's bank account is having all of these withdrawals. And they're like, this dude's missing. So where are these withdrawals coming from? So they start tracking it. And they figure out that it's coming from the same ATM. So they look at the cameras from this ATM, and who do they see on the camera? Robert Wagner. So they start questioning people who knew John. And they got a tip that John rented an old bank in Snowtown. So police obtained a search warrant. On May 5th, 1999, they searched the bank and made a horrific discovery in the vault. 6 barrels containing 8 dismembered bodies.
Wow. I bet the vaults are like smell-proof too when you close them.
No. The footage of the cops show them in with oxygen masks because the smell was so horrible.
Well, because they probably had to open the vault, but when they were staying in the bank, I bet if you close the vault,
you don't smell
it's
it.
Probably, vaults have to be sealed tight.
Mm-hmm.
because Ocean's 11 might come through, break your vault, and take your money.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Damon was good. What was it? Matt Damon, they got the little Asian dude who do backflips into your vault through the lasers.
Yeah. So on May 21st, they arrested John, Mark, and Robert. They then searched John's house and found 2 more bodies in his backyard. James, being a young teenager at the time when it all started, he cooperated with the investigations and testified against the other 3 men in exchange for a plea deal.
Plea deals are whack, man. Because once you take a plea deal, you could say whatever you want. Now the cop say this to get off, even if they didn't do that much. They could add stuff on.
Yeah.
Forget all these plea deals. You're all guilty. No one gets off easier.
Well, John and Robert were tried together and received 11 life sentences. James got 26 years to life, and he'll be eligible for parole in 2025. Mark Hayden, come to find out, he didn't actually kill any of the victims, but he did partake in the torture, and he did also cover up the murders. He received 25 years for his role in the crimes. He was eligible for parole a couple years ago, but he got denied.
I bet now, since this case is public, it's a TV show or, movie, whatever, that none of them are getting off now. It doesn't matter. You're eligible for parole. You're rotting in there. We watched the movie. No one has not been influenced by outside sources that has anything to do with making decisions on this case.
Yeah, well, it is. It's the most notorious case in Australian history.
Australia's just a dangerous place. They say everything in Australia can kill you. There's animals all over that, snakes and all kind of stuff.
True, but they have really strict gun laws over there. After they had a mass shooting of small children, now all guns are outlawed. I heard
about that, but I was just talking about the animals that bite and kill you.
And the giant spiders that you see sometimes. Oh my God, they're scary.
I hope they're all right in Australia, man. I hear there's fires and stuff, man.
Yeah.
The whole world's on fire. Turkey, all that. Well, I'm getting off subject, but I hope everyone's okay.
So now these crimes started out as some type of vigilante justice against pedophiles, right? But in actuality, John Bunting just used that narrative to persuade 2 young, traumatized individuals to carry out his grisly serial killer fantasies. I'm not saying that Robert Wagner or James Velasquez are innocent, because they do know right from wrong, but he did brainwash them, and he used their trauma against them.
I'm a huge no excuses guy, man.
I know you are.
No excuses. Many people have been dealt a raw hand, and to a lot of people, your biggest problem is your biggest problem. So it's people with little problems that stress them just as much as your big problems, because that's the worst thing they've ever been through in their life. And I don't give a fuck.
I know, but I do feel like these 2 were brainwashed by him. They saw him as an idol.
But you know what? He could have went to another kid that went through something. Another kid would have been like, get away from me, you freaking loser.
Maybe.
So, no. They did see him as an idol, but that's no excuse.
It's not an excuse. I'm not trying to
And
make
I don't feel
excuse.
bad for them even a little bit. I hope they get treated terribly in jail, and they never get out, and everyone steals their dessert every day at the mess hall.
Well, it's been 20 years since these horrible crimes, and the town of Snowtown has still not fully recovered. There has been talk, as of late, to turn the Snowtown Bank into a murder museum and gain revenue from this gruesome story. But I don't think the town is going to do it. They've been talking about it. I actually, Melanie, who told me about this case, she sent me an article where they were talking about turning it into a murder museum to gain revenue, because the town is, it's a small town. It's kind of it needs some tourism. And they talked about it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Don't do it, man, because that's going to make these dudes feel cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? If the bank is empty right now, I'll rent it from you for $60 a month right now. No one go in there.
I think they should bulldoze it to the ground.
Well, I don't know. It might be attached to other buildings, but keep that thing empty. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to keep it empty, but how about you put a prospering business in there or something? Help someone out in the community. Yeah, I don't know what it could be, but then also everyone in the town is going to be thinking you can't put an after school sense to oh, the murders happened here.
Yeah.
But how about you overcome this and we're better than this or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know the right answer. Everyone's been through a lot, but I always try to say don't become, like, don't succumb to these bad situations. We've all had them.
And don't turn something horrible into, like, just a profit machine, I guess.
Yeah, but if it's used for good, but like a murder thing, and I mean, we're guilty of it. Like, we have a fucking true crime documentary here, like
podcast.
Yeah, that. But we're like talking on, so we're a little guilty, but don't do that.
Yeah. And that's the case of Australia's worst serial killer, John Bunting, and his band of douches.
Well, at least we've renamed the group now, so maybe like when that TV show comes on Netflix or wherever you find it, they could rename it Band of Douches.
Well, the Snowtown Murder movie, if you are interested and want to have anxiety and want to have a nice depressing night in, it's on Amazon Prime, but it is pretty rough.
I don't think I'm going to watch it.
I don't think you should, because it was really, really disturbing.
I wouldn't get depressed, but I won't watch it.
Yeah. It's a crazy case, right?
Yeah.
Aside from Jack the Ripper, this is our first case that we've done outside of America.
Really?
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And I guess we'll catch you next time. And next time, I think I'm going to do a Survivor story.
We should.
Because we need something positive after this one.
We're due for a Not Me, Not Today. But we do have news. Jess started a TikTok with our old ass, one of the oldest people on TikTok.
We did start a TikTok, so you guys...
I don't have to log on. I don't know how to get on. Catch me on the gram at Wife of Crime Pod.
Well, yeah, Instagram is what we are on the most, but we did start a TikTok because I was like, you know what, let me try it. I don't even know what to do, but we put a series of videos that show how I prepare for the podcast. You guys can go on TikTok, or you can go on our Instagram Reels and see my little series of videos where we talk about how we get ready right before we record.
Yeah, if your kids will listen to Wife of Crime, or watch, because we did start a YouTube. We have some plans there too. Mm-hmm. Got a lot going on of the inside scoop. But tell your kids to check us out on TikTok, or just take their phones from them and tell them to go outside. Like, fuck that.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful week. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, and stay safe in Australia, folks.